I thought that Jason Whitlock did a phenomenal job. I thought that Jason Whitlock did a phenomenal job in breaking this down. And I'm going to go over to his content in a minute. But Jason Whitlock gave an opinion, and I am subscribed to his channel, and he has pulled up on me, and we've had conversations on this channel. But Jason Whitlock gave an opinion of what he thought about Stephen A. Smith. Thank you, Seth. I'm going to be reading that super chat shortly. He gave us an opinion on a conversation that Stephen A. had on his platform. Now, Stephen A. has recently started his own channel on YouTube, and he started his own podcast, and he's starting to talk about things that have nothing to do with basketball. I see Stephen A. give an opinion on affirmative action. I seen him try to hold black people accountable. I've even seen Stephen A. use some of my own fucking words. Now, if I catch Stephen A. using something like hyena and all of this stuff and starting to become red pill and a part of the manosphere, thank you, LLC. I'm going to be reading that super chat shortly. If I start seeing him talking about manosphere, talking points, and red pill stuff and all of that other type of stuff, then we're going to have a problem. But Stephen A. is starting to talk about things that have nothing to do with sports and nothing to do with basketball at all. And so those are the things that make you say, interesting. But if you go over to his channel, most of his views come from takes that he have to do with sports-related topics still. Because we don't see Stephen A. as a voice for what happens within the culture. We see Stephen A. for whatever his takes are about basketball. And so Jason Whitlock had a very interesting take about it. But first, let me play you the video of Stephen A. and what he was saying prior to what Jason Whitlock broke down for Stephen A. Make sure y'all hit a like for the YouTube algorithm. I'm going to be reading super chat shortly. If you have not subscribed to the Patreon, link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. I'm going to skip through and get to the part where he talked about ESPN and himself. All right?
What he's done for my life, just being a big brother and a friend of me. I love him to death. And I know he's going to be fine. There's various others, and I don't want to mention everybody because I don't want to forget anybody's name. But those names certainly come to mind. I'm even going to mention Max Kellerman. I know y'all thought I wouldn't. I am not happy that he is gone. We all know what history we had. We all know what happened with he and I parting ways on First Take. I don't want the brother unemployed. I want him.
Stephen A. pulled rank. He's finally willing to be honest about addressing it now that Max Kellerman is out. Stephen A. pulled rank and said, I don't want him to be on First Take with me. I ain't trying to debate with Max Kellerman. I don't like him for whatever reason. But now he's saving face by saying that I know y'all didn't think I was going to mention Max Kellerman.
Him gainfully employed. I want him having a job and a career. And that brother knows his boxing inside as out, and smart as a whip, and has been around a long time. I wish him no ill will. And a matter of fact, although I sincerely doubt he ever will, if he ever called me needing my help, I would not hesitate to help him. Just because I don't want to work with you directly in a debate show doesn't mean I didn't want to work with you. Doesn't mean I couldn't have worked with him covering a boxing match. Doesn't mean I couldn't have worked with him covering a UFC match. Doesn't mean I could have worked with him doing Sports Center, a Sports Center segment, or somebody else. I'm just talking about a 2-hour debate show. I wanted a different partner.
Tell him how you really feel, Stephen A. But we're going to get to the part where we really want to talk about, all right?
That's all. I wish the brother nothing but the best.
Cap.
But if we're going to be real about it, let's deal with reality. This ain't the end. More is coming. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I could be next. Let me tell y'all something.
So Stephen A. is saying, I could be next. I'm not going for it. I don't believe that he believes that. I don't believe that Stephen A. really believes that. I believe that Stephen A. It is funny because I'm gonna play this next video with Jason Whitlock, and he literally spoke the sentiments of my heart. And I don't think that we give Jason Whitlock enough credit for actually truly understanding. Thank you to Zoltank. Thank you to Aaron. I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna be reading those super chats shortly. I don't think that we give Jason Whitlock enough credit. Thank you, King Jaffe. I'm gonna read that also. Enough credit for being able to identify the truth of what's happening out here in these streets. But let's continue. Let's hear what he. Let's see Stephen A. go through the motions. We seen him appear on Cameron's show in order to continue to get his show popping. Let's see what he got popping. It's so dramatic.
Don't ever, ever, ever in your life as a black person take anything for granted. I told you before, when white folks catch a cold, black folks catch pneumonia. The Neil Everett's are gone. The Jeff Van Gundy's are gone. David Pollack, outstanding college football analyst. Love him.
But they kept, listen, they fired Jeff Van Gundy, Max Kellerman. They even fired the Asian guy. But you know who they kept? Stephen A. Smith, Kendrick Perkins, and Malika Andrews. I call her Malika. Neither here nor there. Got rid of all of the white people. They kept Stephen A. Smith, Malika Andrews, just to name a few, and Kendrick Perkins. And we talking this black stuff again. We love to talk this black stuff. Listen, man, I know Stephen A. is a man of a certain age, and so I get it. They kept Kendrick Perkins, because I think that Stephen A. Smith is a great analyst. I'm not going to talk about that. Got rid of Max Kellerman. Kept Malika Andrews. Got rid of Jeff Van Gundy. And he's talking about when black people catch a cold, or when white people catch a cold, black people catch pneumonia, whatever the soliloquy was that he said.
He was one of the casualties. Todd McShay, college football analyst extraordinaire, especially for the NFL draft. He's been late. He's part of the casualty.
Didn't they get rid of the football player too? Not Tony Romo. Chat, tell me who the football player, the quarterback that they got rid of.
Love him. You didn't think black folks was going to be on the list too? That's always the case. And the one thing that I can tell you about Stephen A., this ain't 2009. I really didn't see it coming. My eyes are always wide open now.
Everybody's seen it coming. When Disney said that they was going to be doing layoffs, and then they gave Pat McAfee a bag, and they looking for talent the same way that the music labels is looking for talent, for proving people instead of trying to groom people and bring people in and try to hodgepodge them together. You didn't see this coming? Everybody and their mama seen it coming. Steve Young. They got rid of Steve Young. They got rid of Steve Young, Jeff Van Gundy, Max Kellerman, all incredibly talented people, and kept Malika Andrews and Kendrick Perkins. Let me go over, and I'm going to be reading those super chats shortly. I'm going to go over to what my dog, my guy said, Jason Whitlock, and he broke it down beautifully. Make sure y'all hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications.
I'm going to tell you who actually could, and this will blow your mind when I say it. Finally, Steve, Stephen A. Smith, on his own podcast, I believe, or somewhere, told someone that he could be next in the ESPN layoffs. ESPN's had a bunch of layoffs. Stephen A. Smith said he could be next. Here's the thing, Steve, though. I think it's crystal clear if you follow Stephen A. Smith, he's extremely restless. I think he's bored with First Take. I think he's bored with sports. I think he wants to be a nighttime talk show host for a major television network.
Yep.
I think he wants out of ESPN. And when I heard, well,
Here's the caveat. I think he wants out, but he still wants to get paid for it. See, when you get laid off a lot of times, especially with regard to contract negotiations, and when you at a certain level, the way you negotiate your contract, and obviously I've never seen Stephen A's contract, so I'm just guessing like everybody else, right? But usually what happens is you still get paid for that. See, it's much different than a Shannon Sharpe leaving an undisputed and he's negotiating for a buyout. Okay? Because he's leveraging, man, this is one thing that we're not talking about. Did Shannon Sharpe make a bad decision? I have not seen anything drop on Club Shay Shay. I don't know if Shannon Sharpe is just on vacation or whatever, but nobody's checking for Shannon Sharpe. Nobody is moving the needle. And unless he comes with some great thing, and this is a part of it that nobody is talking about, I'm wondering if he made a mistake by leaving Undisputed. Now that ESPN is basically laying the axe down and getting rid of everything like that, I'm wondering if Shannon Sharpe should have just renegotiated his contract to get a bigger payday because Undisputed is going to take more market share as a result of it because him and Skip had a great thing going. Ooh, hindsight is 2020. Hindsight is 2020. Here's the question. Did Shannon Sharpe make a mistake by leaving Undisputed? Now that there is no Fox Entertainment that's backing up and helping to produce Club Shay Shay, because that is literally what we see happening. Whenever I had to ask permission to be able to use their videos, which is one of the reasons why I was able to review the Club Shay Shay videos and have them as clips and stuff like that, and they gave me authorization, I had to go through, I believe it was Fox Entertainment. Was it Fox? Yeah, I think it was Fox Entertainment that I had to go through. We gonna find out. But Jason Whitlock is saying that he think that Stephen A is bored and tired of talking about sports, but he don't want to give up that bag.
I heard him make that comment about he could be next in the layoffs at ESPN. I was like, this is a guy that's been upset ever since Joe Buck and Troy Aikman got paid more than him. Now Pat McAfee's getting paid more than him. And he is trying to leverage ESPN into overpaying him, perhaps $20, $25 million a year, and or he just wants out of ESPN. And it makes me think that I wonder if Fox Sports and just Fox isn't a possibility if that's not connected to the Skip Bayless thing. And if you agree with me that Stephen A. Smith is just restless and tired of being at ESPN. He goes on his own little individual podcast and talks about everything but sports.
Hey, he said his own little individual podcast.
I came off vacation to talk about the affirmative action Supreme Court decision. This guy's done. He's frustrated talking about sports. He wants to move on to bigger and better things.
Well, by the way, the PhD, Dr. Stephen A. Smith, said that when white people get the cold, we get pneumonia. So my question is, what do we get, yellow fever? Anyway, I'm noticing an interesting pattern with old Stephen A. here. He stays on code on First Take for the most part, but when he does his own podcast, he gets off code. He made a comment about the violence in cities like Chicago, and I was like, whoa, Stephen A's going to he's off code. The community's not going to be happy. But then he goes back and says this about, hey, I could be next. He's playing this game of checks and balances to keep, I think, one side very happy and placated with his statements, but then also his own personal beliefs. I think it's fascinating to see how he vacillates between the two. Now, to your theory, is he bored with ESPN? Jason, I think you have a point when you say he's bored with just talking about sports. There comes a time where even him, a guy of his stature that's covered the NBA, he doesn't want to do any more who's better, LeBron or Kobe Bryant debates. He really doesn't. He doesn't even want to talk about, is Tom Brady the GOAT? How good is Bill Belichick without him? We've all done it. And Jason, you probably went through the same thing because most of what you cover now is not sports. You have branched out, you have evolved. Stephen A, in his own mind, probably believes if there's going to be another version of Arsenio Hall who's never been replaced, I believe, in that realm, he thinks it could be him. And I'm going to give Stephen A some credit. I remember about 15, 16, 17 years ago, he did a show, I think it was called Quite Frankly or something with Stephen A. Smith, where it was kind of like a talk show, had a live studio audience. He did a monologue. He had some pretty good guests. Actually did a lot of boxing. Jason, I hope you're sitting down. I thought that show was good. I enjoyed it. And he probably thinks, you know what? Let me expand my horizons where I could do pop culture, politics, other issues, and delve into a little bit of sports. That's me. I'm the new Arsenio. So I think there's a lot of truth to what you say.
I don't think that that's what we checking for Stephen A. Smith for. If you go over and you look at the views here, let me see if I can pull it up. Give me a second. We're gonna do a little bit of research. We're gonna do a little bit of research. And I didn't anticipate doing this. And this doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what Stephen A. thinks. The only thing that matters is the truth, right? So let me pull up his channel. Stephen A. Smith. All right. So this is his channel. Let me pull this up really quickly, y'all. Hold on. Give me a second. Let me see if I can pull it up. All right, so this is Stephen A. Smith's channel. All right. Heck of a picture. So let's go through his videos really quickly. He's talking about Larry Nassar. All right. This is Stephen A. stuff. This is the clips that he's dropping. First of all, he don't even really understand YouTube, in my opinion, to the point to where he can actually monetize it the way that it's supposed to be monetized. Because I see a lot of flaws here. However, I'm sure he'll learn it. I'm sure he'll figure it out. And this is the problem with a lot of these dudes that have producers and production that's behind them but don't truly understand the platform. But let's go ahead and look at it. So Death Will Be Too Good for Larry Nassar. 1.7 thousand views. But it only dropped 2 hours ago. So we don't know what that's going to turn into. Stephen A. roasts caller for having no game. Honestly, who wants to see that? Just curious. I mean, let's really take a pause here and put it in perspective. Who wants to see? Because Stephen A. has largely branded himself as a guru in the commentary sector of talking about sports. Who wants to see Stephen A? And maybe he's just trying things out. Yeah, y'all saying some of the flaws in the chat, but it's okay. Who wants to see Stephen A. roast caller for having no game? Why is all of his clips dropping at the exact same time? Neither here nor there. Stephen A. helps fan out with his love life. 9.4 thousand views. Now, conversely, if we go and we break this out, right? Let's go down to the stuff that actually was meaningful to us. Let's find a video that was meaningful to us that he did. There we go. Stephen A. gives a shout out to his former ESPN coworkers. 400,000 views 7 days ago. That's something that we wanted to see. Predictions, NBA predictions, 48,000 views. We want to see that. Free agency, 181,000 views. Now he's talking about the Titanic. Now that did views because that was the thing that was popping at the time. But then he goes, Mariah Mills tattooed Zion Williamson's name on her face. That's sports related, so to speak, but he's trying to get into the pop culture aspect of it. But my point is that this thing is all over the place. Now he's trying to do the Shannon Sharpe thing, the Club Shay Shay, interviewing comedians. Gives a shout out to Busta Rhymes. He's mad that he didn't get an invite to Michael Rubin's white party. This ain't it, man. Honestly, for a person that's been in the industry, that has seen all of the ways in which things are produced and all of that stuff over a period of time, in my opinion, this ain't it. Like, nobody wants to see. Okay, if y'all want to see Stephen A. give y'all game and do a shout out to Busta Rhymes, let me see. Stephen A. horrified by mass shootings in America. Look at the thumbnail. It's all pixelated and shit. This ain't it. This is just not it. But let me go back over into what Jason Whitlock was saying. I'm going to scrub back through where they
I'm
was
gonna tell
at.
you who actually.
Where it was kind of like a talk show, had a live studio audience. He did a monologue. He had some pretty good guests. Actually did a lot of boxing. Jason, I hope you're sitting down.
I'm going to be reading Super Chat shortly.
I enjoyed it. And he probably thinks, you know what? Let me expand my horizons where I could do pop culture, politics, other issues, and delve into a little bit of sports. That's me. I'm the new Arsenio. So I think there's a lot of truth to what you say.
See, Arsenio Hall, a skilled and talented comedian.
Yes.
Stephen A. Smith, not a skilled and talented comedian.
Come on.
Seriously, he's just not. That's a real skill. He's not comedic. He's not funny. He does some occasional things that'll put a smile on your face, but I mean, he would be so dependent on writers.
Aren't they all?
And
Jason, aren't they all?
No. Eddie Murphy. You watch these guys getting interviews. Watch Jamie Foxx getting an interview, and the guy's just funny organically and can do stuff just off the top of his head. Not all these guys are dependent on writers. Not the best ones, no.
Jason, if he believes he can do it and he's willing to say, I'm gonna walk the tightrope and be like the Melendez, they take away that safety net, I'm gonna do this, I will give him credit. And by the way, if Magic Johnson is allowed to give his hand a try at this,
there you go.
Why not Stephen
There
A.
you
Smith?
go. Magic Johnson, perfect example.
Yeah, the Magic Hour. God.
That junk was horrible, too. That Magic Johnson show, that late night Magic Johnson show that y'all been trying to get a black TV show host, late night show for the longest. That junk been bombing.
Dog, that was
The
the
Tragic
worst
Hour.
thing.
Yeah.
The
You
Tragic
want a
Hour.
remake of The Tragic Hour with Stephen A. Smith.
And you know what? I give Magic credit. He ruined the career of Craig Shoemaker, a white guy, and really damaged the career of Tommy Davidson, a black guy. See, that's fair. That's equity. That is equity. That was a terrible.
Let me tell you who actually could. I'm going to tell you who actually could.
You gonna say
This
Shannon
will
Sharp?
blow your mind when I say this. Shannon Sharp
I knew he was
do what
gonna
you're
say that.
talking about.
Ooh, he's
He
kind of
could
delving into it.
replace Arsenio Hall.
Yeah,
I didn't see it up to this point, so.
Look, Arsenio Hall from 1989 to about 92 was.
Well, Shannon Sharp has already kind of proved it with Club Shay Shay, and that he stepped out and branched out and been able to create content that's outside of just sports talking. So it's a possibility that he can do that.
To me, Camelot. It was the other version of Johnny Carson, The Tonight Show. Nobody's been able to replicate it. It was a cultural and national phenomenon. I don't think Arsenio gets enough credit to this day for the greatness of that show. I've always thought the one guy that had the natural all-around skill and personality to pull it off, and I hope he's okay. And it's interesting you brought him up yesterday on Twitter. I think Jamie Foxx is the only guy that has the all-around skill to do it, but I think he's past all of that. But if Stephen A. Smith thinks he could be a version of Arsenio Hall, I'd like to actually see it.
I don't think that the thing that we check for Stephen A. Smith for, and again, this is one of the problems, I believe. And some of you may disagree with me, some of you may agree with me. I think that Stephen A. for so long has branded himself as the sports commentator that we can't see him as anything but. Right? You got to do something that really step outside of your comfort zone. to make yourself more visible to then be available to the general public in which they would check for that type of content for you. It takes a while, and this is the thing that people don't understand. It takes a while for you to brand yourself differently, right? And these are people that already had the machine behind them. So I've seen a lot of people that said, well, Stephen A started this channel 9 months ago and he already got 21 million views. Well, that's because he's riding the coattails of his visibility that he's been able to build up on ESPN and that Disney machine for a long time, right? It's not that he did it on his own. It's not that, and he got FanDuel behind him. He got FanDuel that's sponsoring his show. You see the big old logo FanDuel right there behind him. So it's much different than creating. I'll give you a better content creator, and I mention him all the time because I actually love his content. And I'd rather watch him than watch Stephen A. Smith. Dreamers Pro. If anybody is familiar, Dreamers Pro recently just crossed the 100,000 mark, and he's going up. Right? Phenomenal content creator, black guy, black man. I think that he's going to be big. I think he's going to be huge. And a lot of people are just starting to recognize him and pay attention to him. But I've been watching him and rocking with him for a long time, back when he didn't have that many subscribers at all, right? But he slowly built up his own stuff. He put together his own stuff. I've even seen people steal his thumbnails, right? But it's a different, and his quality of content is much greater than some of these people that's branching out on their own that have no clue of how to do this thing. And so just because somebody had the machine behind them, because that novelty eventually rolls off. The novelty eventually goes off, right? The popularity is the thing that's going to get you the initial pop. And then you got to start, creating that content. And so you ain't going to have no writers behind you. You ain't got that machine, that Disney machine behind you, right? And so what I'm saying is, as long as he's staying with ESPN, because that is still his day job, he has that visibility and he has that trampoline to leapfrog off of, which I think is a phenomenal strategy. But my point is that I see content creators that got it out the mud, that never had a machine behind them, that get way more views, way more money, that understand it, that understand thumbnails, understand exactly how long to make your videos, how to clip your stuff up appropriately, how to slide them into playlists, all of these other type of things, that these guys are just now getting their feet wet in. So what I'm saying is that when you remove the machine and everything is equal, what do you have? When you have people that got it out the mud, that built it one follower at a time instead of doing it on national TV, which everybody is moving away from, and now you see a lot of these athletes, you see a lot of these national pundits. It's been a lot of athletes that tried to start their own podcast. It's been a lot of rappers that tried to start their own podcast and failed miserably. Miserably. They failed miserably. So, don't compare a person that got it out the mud to a person that's leapfrogging off of a platform, which both strategies can be incredibly profitable. Both strategies can be great. But what I'm saying is, don't compare a person that did it independently from day one and never switched up to a person that is using the machine to continue to promote them while also trying to leverage getting the bag from the machine because they've gotten a level of complacency in the positions that they in. Or they may see the writing on the wall and they trying to hurry up and pivot before the gavel come dropping down. Please don't compare somebody that's had the machine promote them to a person that got it out the mud. It's different. As a matter of fact, I think that they trying to copy what we doing. We not on their time. You don't see no independent content creator that's out here saying, yo, listen, would y'all hire me? Usually what they do is they check for what we doing and then they pivot. We was on YouTube first before all of these other content, before all of these big machines was on here. We was over here first. We was cooking up first. We set the trends. We've been doing the ones that's the innovating. All they do is look at what the vibe is, and that's why you see all of their content. Hey, let me give you some advice. Hey, let me figure out how you rock it. Hey, I want to talk about African American issues. Hey, they getting away from the very thing that made them popular in the first place, and they trying to come over to what we doing. But you can't out-innovate innovators. And we gonna always be here because we are the ones that overwork. We don't fucking sleep. We not worried about a producer. We don't take vacations. We don't take days off. You don't see us saying, hey, I'm about to take a vacation for the next 3 weeks, next month. I'll see you next month. We don't get complacent. We work. We cook because we love this shit. And it's a difference between people that's coming in this shit to try to get money and people that love it and get money as a result of being compensated for what they're good at. Don't confuse it. Don't confuse it. It's a difference. And that's why you seen the Pat McAfee go and get the bag. Because Pat McAfee was already building that shit. He wasn't looking for them. They was looking for him. That's why everybody else got fired. Because they was there to do a job. And Pat and them was cooking up every day. Pat and them was cooking up every day. It's no reason why a Pat should have been able to outcompete and get the numbers that he was getting versus what they was getting on a daily on ESPN's First Take. It's no reason. I'll give you the perfect example. You want to get the perfect example? I hate to say this. If you look at Rob Parker, Fox Sports Radio, and Chris over there, because they do the what is it called? The brother from another mother or something like that. If you look at what's going on over there, honestly, they've been on that show for a long time. They not really getting the traction that y'all think that they getting. Fox Sports Radio YouTube channel ain't popping like some of these other independent content creator channels. You got people that are, and you got Chris, who was also on a nationally syndicated show, right? Rob Parker has been in the game forever. They get on there, they get on camera, they get on screen, they vision is pixelated and blurry and shit. Microphones don't be working half the time. Rob Parker be looking drunk. Beard ain't even really put together and shit like that. Camera ain't clear or none of that. The Odd Couple. It's called The Odd Couple. That show ain't really popping like that. It ain't getting the traction that it should be getting considering their background and the fact that they have machines in other places pushing them and they supposed to be getting that traction. But you don't see their growth is not the same type of growth as like the Dreamers Pro. And it's a difference. I'm telling you, it's a difference. It is a huge difference. But I'm open to being wrong.